Join us for Stroh's Thunderfest, a day of unlimited hydroplane racing from Detroit. Brought to you by Dutch Boy Paint. Whether you do it yourself or hire a pro, the proof is in the performance. And by Ford and your local Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by Stroh's and Stroh Light, fire brewed for smooth taste. In the shadows of downtown Detroit, we're at Bill Munsey Park right on the Detroit River. The day is not perfect for boat racing, but it's a far cry from the 30-mile-an-hour winds and the 3-foot high rollers that stopped the racing yesterday and rescheduled it for today. Hello, everyone. I'm Ed Dubrow, and this is where it started. They call this the Indy 500 of water racing. And when you think of Indy, you have to think of my colleague today, Gordon Johncock, a two-time winner of that prestigious event. Gordon, I have to know, what's the psychological impact on a driver? A race with a 68-year tradition, all these people on hand, and a day's weather delay.
Well, Ed, I don't think it really bothers them that much, the drivers and the crews. Everybody gets pumped up for the race. And this race, the Detroit race here, is the one that the drivers want to win, and also the crews. And at the second day, I think a little more relaxed and maybe even a little bit easier. I know myself, a lot of times, I've had better luck on the second day and then the first day.
Thanks, Gordy. Also with us today, a three-time national champion and a former commissioner in this sport, Lee Shaneth. Lee, for lo these many years, this has been a 3-mile course. This year they've changed it to 2.5 miles. What effect will that have on the racing?
The reason we brought it away from the Belial Bridge was to get out of the extremely rough water going in and coming out of the turn. I think you can see this by watching Chip Hanauer, last year's winner on this race course. I think the 2.5-mile course will give much tighter and closer competition. I think you'll see the boats run together faster. In fact, they're running 135-mile-an-hour laps. I think that's pretty good on a 2.5-mile course.
I might add that this is the 30th anniversary of Lee's last victory here on the Detroit River. We've got highlights of all the qualifying heats, and Lee will take you around the course as our coverage of Stroh's Thunderfest continues. Hello again, everyone. Ed Dubrow, Gordon Johncock, and Lee Shaneth. We're in Detroit, Michigan. They started powerboat racing here in 1916, and the Detroit race is known as the largest outdoor sporting event in the world. Even with yesterday's postponement, we have a tremendous crowd on hand. You're watching the Eagles aerobatic flight team from Hollister, California. 14 Unlimited showed for qualifying this week. They had to turn the new 2.5-mile course at a minimum speed of 105 miles per hour. 5 boats have earned their way into the winner-take-all championship final. Defending champion Chip Hanauer. 2-time national champion Mickey Riemann. George Johnson of Seattle, Washington. Milner Irvin from Miami, Florida. Jim Kropfeld from Cincinnati, Ohio. The alternate boat on the water will be Steve Reynolds of Kirkland, Washington. Each driver has run 2 qualifying heats. Those 5 have accumulated the highest point total. Now let's show you how they worked their way into the big race. They ran qualifying heat 1A yesterday, the big matchup between Steve Reynolds, who set the record with a speed of just under 134 miles an hour in one of the new turbines, and Jim Kropfeld in the piston-powered Bud never materialized. Reynolds brought the Tosti in because of the rough water. He's got 1 damaged boat and didn't want to lose another. Jim Kropfeld ran away from the field, but the 3-foot rollers took their toll. Kropfeld had serious damage they worked all day to repair. Milner Irvin lost his wing and sustained bow damage. Ron Snyder had damage, but like he said, nothing that couldn't be fixed with gaffer's tape. In 1982, I had the pleasure of televising a historic unlimited racing event, the first win ever by a turbine-powered boat. That ushered in a new era in thunderboat racing. The proud papa of that racing hull was boat builder designer Jim Lucero. Lee Shaneth is standing by with him.
Jim, what is the advantage of the turbine engine over the piston engine?
Well, this engine, which is a Lycoming T55 gas turbine engine, it's used in a helicopter. It's a current production engine. It makes about comparable horsepower to the engines that we've used for the last 25 years, but it weighs about 1,000 pounds less. Also, it's a current technology engine, and a lot of things are being done in development on this engine currently, whereas that engine's been out of production for the last 25 years. Not very much has been done to develop it other than what we've done in-house, and we really can't afford to go on and develop these engines to keep on making more and more horsepower and more reliability. This engine also is being run right now in the race boats within its factory design limitations, which means we don't have to extend it. We don't have to take it 25% beyond its capabilities, which we have to do with the Rolls-Merlin engine. So we can expect greater reliability out of the Lycoming engine.
Jim, what about the hulls? Do you need to redesign the hulls to take this type engine?
Well, being a little bit lighter, we do have to make some aerodynamic changes. The boats tend to run a little bit lighter on the water. They tend to run a little bit lighter in the air. So we've made some adjustments in the airflow in the new Atlas van lines to keep the thing a little bit more pitch stable, and I know that some of the other new turbine boats are doing the same thing.
Thanks, Lee and Jim. As you can see, the weather is better today, but the drivers still felt the water was rough. Now you'll get a chance to watch defending champion Chip Hanauer pilot Laciro's creation during qualifying Heat 1B. Unfortunately, Tom Deeth couldn't get Laciro's other turbine-built hull. The Light All-Star started and dropped out of the competition. Lee Shaneth will take you around the course to show you what the drivers are up against.
Well, the boats are full bore at the starting line doing 160 to 170 miles an hour. Going into this big sweeping turn at the Belial turn of the Detroit course. Coming out of this turn, they'll have the advantage of going down the fastest unlimited racing stretch in the country, the backstretch in Detroit. But one thing must happen. They must jockey for position and back off going into the tight rooster tail turn. Going through this turn is probably the hardest job in racing. Coming out of this turn, they have a huge concrete wall to contend with. They must make a sharp turn, then head back for the start-finish line.
And I might add that Chip Hanauer turned that lap in a blistering 134 miles an hour on this sunny Michigan day. He's looking to become only the second man since 1946 to win 3 in a row here. That record is held by the late Bill Munsey, the man that Hanauer replaced in the cockpit of the Blue Blaster. Heat 2A, Ron Snyder couldn't bring the American speedy printing to life. The two favorites, Kropfeld, the red and white boat on the inside lane, Hanauer, the blue and white boat right next to him, turbine against piston. The fans licked their lips, but on the start, the weakness of the turbine was exposed. The Atlas got wet and stalled. Hanauer restarted, held it right on the edge, and introduced Detroit to the jet age in unlimited racing. Then, as you saw in the tight rooster tail turn, Hanauer gets by Todd Yarley. Two and a half miles later, he literally flies by Big George Johnson, then sets his sights on the leader, Jim Kropfeld. But the turbine quit. Kropfeld and the Bud took the checkered flag for their second heat win of the day. Todd Yarling lost the right side of his boat. He was uninjured, and quick action by the volunteer rescue staff saved the boat. Heat 2B was a battle on the water and off between Mickey Riemann in the red boat and Steve Reynolds in the white turbine-powered hull. Mickey claimed that Steve cut him off, taking the lead in that troublesome rooster tail turn.
The rule states you must have a 5-boat length lead, Ed, and also leave room in the turn for a boat. Here it's kind of close. There's water flying all over. Steve thought he left enough room. Mickey didn't. Here's another angle. You can see Mickey sliding through Steve's rooster tail. But he came out. It could have been bad, but it wasn't. Luckily, there was nobody hurt. There's a lot of force from those rooster tails. They can bust a windshield and even break a jaw on a guy. Now we're going to keep going and show Steve coming around in the very next lap. And he is having trouble turning, as you can see here right now. He's hooking it right into a buoy. The officials called that one, and Steve was penalized an extra lap for the race.
Riemann continues his comeback by winning the heat. So far, it's been an exciting day on the water, and the best is yet to come. The lineup is now set for that winner-take-all finale. George Johnson with a new boat that's looked good. Chip Hanauer, who turned a 135-mile-an-hour lap earlier and has a new engine in the boat. Milner Irvin still without a wing on his boat. Mickey Riemann in the boat that won here the last 2 years. And Jim Kropfeld, he won both of his qualifying heats. The alternate, Steve Reynolds, who set the qualifying record at just under 134 miles an hour. This is certainly shaping up to be the most competitive championship race in the 68-year history. Now, earlier in the week, several of the drivers stepped out of their $1 million 180-mile-an-hour racers and had some fun to the delight of the fans by taking part in a Merc Cub Formula 4 race. For the record, Todd Yarling won his first race against unlimited drivers. Stay with us. We're set for the championship winner-take-all finale. Hello again, everyone. I'm Ed Dubrow, along with Gordon Johncock and Lee Shaineth. If you've just joined us, we're at Bill Munsey Park in Detroit, Michigan, for the 68th running of Stroh's Thunderfest, a day of unlimited hydroplane racing. The 5-minute cannon is fired, the boats are in the water. Let's meet the drivers and take a closer look at the fastest racing boats in the world.
Hi, I'm Chip Hanauer from Seattle, Washington. I drive the Atlas Van Lines.
My name is Jim Kropfeld. I drive the Miss Budweiser, and I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Hello, I'm George Johnson from Seattle, Washington, the driver of the Executive Telephone Boat.
I'm Mickey Riemann. I drive the Squire Shop from Seattle, Washington.
Hi, I'm Milton Irvin. I drive the Miss Renault. I'm from Miami, Florida.
Trouble right at the start. Chip Hanauer has gone dead in the water.
This is a big break for Steve Reynolds. He's the alternate boat. He can get in. The 1-minute gun has not fired yet.
6 boats were out on the water, and there is Reynolds now. And he made it just in time. The 1-minute gun about to go off. There it is. Let's take a look at that field now. It's George Johnson, Milner Irvin, Mickey Riemann, Jim Kropfeld, and Steve Reynolds. 5 boats on this new 2.5-mile treacherous Detroit course.
We're inside the 1-minute gun. This is a race within a race. The boats are all jockeying for position to get the lane they want to head for that starting line. If I know the Budweiser, she'll be looking for the inside. Now they're scoring up on the backstretch to head down to the rooster tail turn and come around for a flying start.
Lee, in the start, there's as much psychology and everyone psyching everyone out as there is racing.
That's about half the ball game right there.
Looks like they're heading for the start line now. Jim Kropfeld has that all-important inside lane. Riemann right on his hip. George Johnson has lane 3. Irvin is off the pace just a little bit, and I don't see Steve Reynolds. There's a start, and it looks like a good one.
It is a good start, Ed. They're heading down to the big Belial turn right now. Oh, there's Tosti having some kind of a problem, and Steve Reynolds looks like he's pulling to the infield.
Reynolds not able to capitalize on his big break, being the alternate. He got in the race when Chip Hanauer couldn't start. He's pulled it off the course as they go through the Belial turn.
Well, looks like Budweiser's out in front, heading down the backstretch in Detroit. There's Steve Reynolds in the middle of the course, sitting there waving. Everything is okay. And you can see Jim coming down in the background there.
Steve Reynolds set the new qualifying 2.5-mile record just under 134 miles an hour. He has to be disappointed, as must be Chip Hanauer. Neither one is in this race. They made all the headlines this week. Gordon Johncock, only a race driver can know how they feel.
Well, it's tough, Ed. There's no question about it. I've been in the same situation, not only for one race, but for several. It is tough, and you just have to keep plugging away. I've been doing it for 29 years, and if I'd have given up the first time it happened to me, I wouldn't be here today.
Well, here at the start, 43-year-old Jim Kropfeld, who hails from Cincinnati, Ohio, has that 7,000-pound boat handling very well in this rough water, turned that first lap in just under 124 miles an hour.
And I think Jim's got a little advantage with this heavier boat in this rough water. He's doing very well, and I'm sure he's going to have to maintain his speed, though, to keep the lead.
It almost looked like Kropfeld wants to run away from the field, but every time he turns around and sneaks a peek, he sees former 2-time national champion Mickey Riemann right in his wake.
Well, you know, Mickey just come out of retirement, and he's not going to give anything away to Jim. He's going to keep after Jim, and Jim's going to have to keep going to win this race.
Kropfeld was the Rookie of the Year in Unlimiteds in '82, but he's a 20-year veteran of racing on the water.
That's true. Being a rookie in Unlimiteds is one thing, but he's got a lot of racing experience and a lot of fast racing experience.
I have to wonder, even though the course has been changed from a 3-mile course to a 2.5-mile course, this is only Kropfeld's second year on the Detroit River in Unlimiteds. Mickey Riemann has been here many times before.
Well, that might give Mickey a little edge, but Jim drives hard, and he knows the course, and he likes the course. I talked to him about it.
Still a little rough, and we've got George Johnson coming down now through the Rooster Tail turn. George is driving a new boat this year, one of the few that Lacero has built, which is not a turbine.
Yes, this is a Rolls-powered boat, but built by Jim, and it's going to show a lot of good speeds the rest of the year.
Second lap completed, average speed by Jim Kropfeld, just under 121 miles an hour. Mickey Riemann keeping him in sight. He's at 117.816 miles an hour. It's still anybody's race.
Well, there's only a few seconds between these boats if you look at it, and Mickey's still pushing Jim, and one little sput of the engine, and we could have a new leader here.
It's hard to imagine, but these boats travel faster than a Nolan Ryan fastball. They're traveling the length of a football field every second. Now, got to ask you this, as long as you've been around unlimited powerboat racing, a little disappointment, the turbines are not here, and everyone was looking forward to that.
Well, I think the crowd just came down, really, the bulk of them, to see the turbines. I'm very excited about the turbines. I hope to see them run a lot more this year. They are fast, they are good. They could revolutionize boat racing.
Right now, the turbines aren't here, but we're still seeing some fantastic racing and some great speeds. After 3 laps, Jim Kropfeld has the lead, the average speed just under 123 miles an hour, and he hasn't been able to shake Mickey Riemann.
No, Mickey's still after him, and you got to realize this boat that Mickey's driving is the boat that Chip Hanauer won here in Detroit the last 2 years, driving this boat under the name of Atlas. So Mickey's got a very fine boat to be driving today.
2.5 miles to go. Jim Kropfeld has driven a very, very consistent race. He can win his first one on the Detroit River. What's he thinking, Lee?
Well, he's got a comfortable lead, and I'm sure he's just thinking for 2.5 miles, keep all the small little things that break and drive you crazy together. The engine he's got under control. Everything else is under control. It's the little parts that could bug him now.
Mickey Riemann right in his rooster tail. Then George Johnson waiting should either one of those falter. Heading now for the checkered flag. Jim Kropfeld will give Bernie Little, his boat owner, his first win on the Detroit River since 1981.
And Jim waved up to the officials, signifying good race. I'm glad it's over. I've got the victory.
With Kropfeld, we may be looking at a future champ in unlimited driving, but 2-time national champion in '73 and '77. Mickey Riemann holds down second place. He drove a fine race.
Yes, he did a very good race. You got to realize that Mickey's coming out of retirement. He's got a new type boat that he's not familiar with. I think he's learning from race to race and lap to lap.
For the second year in a row, Big George Johnson brings the Executone home in third place.
Miss Renault will take fourth place money, but she did not finish. She only completed 4 laps, had to go into the pits due to some engine problems. I'm sure Milner's tired after that rough ride without his wing.
It's been a rough ride today, and he may be tired, but he won't feel it today, and I am talking about this man, Jim Kropfeld. Today, he got his first victory in an unlimited hydroplane on the Detroit River. The turbines got all the headlines this week, but he'll collect the hardware. And here's our winner, Jim Kropfeld. Well, Jim, as you and I both know, this is not your first win on the Detroit River, but it's your first win as an unlimited driver. Your thoughts on the start of the race?
Well, I wanted the inside lane. We talked about it. I wanted to be in number 1 lane, and of course I knew Mickey wanted number 1 too. And when we came up milling around with about 20 seconds to go, he wasn't trying for it. And I thought, well, that's funny. Maybe he's got problems with his boat. But as we came down on the start, we hit the line side by side. And as we got down past the start line, somewhere around the Whittier Hole, we call it, where it's very rough, we were side by side, and I looked over, and at about 150 mile an hour, Mickey's boat started coming up in the front, getting very light. And we had the bud set up. We had it nailed down on the water real tight, and I just put my foot in and kept going. And after that, there was no problem. But the pit crew, or the Budweiser crew, did everything absolutely perfect today. The engine was perfect, the hull was perfect, and that's what it takes.
Thanks, Jim. Congratulations to you and owner Bernie Little. Stroh's Thunderfest was brought to you by Ford and your local Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Dutch Boy Paint. Whether you do it yourself or hire a pro, the proof is in the performance. And by Stroh's and Stroh Light, fire brewed for smooth taste. This race was sanctioned by the Unlimited Racing Commission. Special thanks to Don Jones and his assistant Scott Smith. To the Spirit of Detroit Committee and their chairman Ray Basilio, our sincere thanks for their help and cooperation. Hotel accommodations were furnished by the Hotel Pontchartrain in exchange for this announcement. When in Detroit, stay in its only preferred hotel on the waterfront, the Hotel Pontchartrain. Well, the 68th running of the Unlimited Championship race on the Detroit River is history. For Gordon John Cock and Lee Shaneth, I'm Ed Dubrow. Thank you so much for being with us.